He's like a son almost. You work with these guys for...
How does the best day of your racing career turn into an apology tour before sunset? Asked Carson Kvapil. On Saturday at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he finally won his first NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race after 64 starts and 5 second-place finishes. Then, in the middle of his emotional celebration, he did something that had ground crews scrubbing the historic yard of bricks by hand and his team owner Dale Earnhardt Jr. issuing a public apology within hours. To understand how big this moment was, you have to understand how long Carson Kvapil waited for it. The 23-year-old from Mooresville, North Carolina, is the son of former NASCAR driver Travis Kvapil, and this season he did not even have a full-time seat. He pieced the year together across 3 different cars and 3 different teams, driving the number 1 and number 9 cars for JR Motorsports and the number 91 car fielded by Mario Gosselin for DGM Racing. He entered Saturday's Pennzoil 250 presented by Take 5 Oil Change with 63 career starts in the series and 0 victories. What he did have were 5 runner-up finishes, 5 afternoons where he came within touching distance of victory lane and drove home empty-handed. 5 second-place finishes will wear on a driver's confidence and patience. Then came July 25, 2026 at one of the biggest stages in all of motorsports. The race itself featured just 1 caution for an on-track incident, and it built toward a finish that will be remembered for years. Carson Kvapil passed his JR Motorsports teammate Ross Chastain on lap 79 of 100 and held the lead the rest of the way. But it was never comfortable. Justin Allgaier, a 6-time winner this season and the driver who had already clinched the top chase seed, powered past Ross Chastain into second place on lap 94 and began hunting down the leader. Crossing the yard of bricks with 1 lap left, Justin Allgaier trailed by a scant 0.283 seconds. On the final circuit, he pushed so hard that he nearly touched the wall trying to close the gap. It was not enough. Carson Kvapil crossed the stripe with a 0.643 second advantage to score his first victory. And the day was historic beyond just one driver. With Justin Allgaier, Ross Chastain, and Chase Elliott in positions 2 through 4, JR Motorsports scored the first 4-driver sweep of an event in series history. The victory was the 14th of the season for the organization with 6 different drivers, tying the record it set last year. For the 79th straight race, JR Motorsports placed at least 1 driver in the top 10, tying the record set by RFK Racing from 2008 to 2010. Behind the wheel of the winning car was crew chief Rodney Childers, who fashioned 2 NASCAR Cup Series victories at the Brickyard while working with Kevin Harvick, so keeping Carson Kvapil in the mix from start to finish was no surprise. The emotion poured out immediately. After taking the checkered flag, Carson Kvapil rode around the track backwards on his cool-down lap, soaking in what had just happened. "It means the world to me," he said, as his number 1 Chevrolet team climbed the front stretch catch fence in celebration. "It's very emotional. I rode around on that lap backwards, and I sat there just thinking about all the hard work I've put in, me and my dad Travis, to get to this point." He credited the people who believed in him when his career could have stalled out completely. "And the faith Dale Jr., L.W. Miller and Kelly Miller put behind me to give me this opportunity, a second chance, I guess you could say, to come back at it this year. I'm going to try not to cry too much. I've already shed a few tears just trying to hold it together right now." On the other side of the wall, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was fighting the same battle with his emotions during his interview with the CW. "Oh man, this has been a long time coming," said Dale Earnhardt Jr., trying to hold back tears. "He's like a son almost. You work with these guys for so long. You work so hard. We worked so hard with Josh Berry and all our drivers, and you just want them to have success. And he's got to win to keep going. You got to win if you want to stay in this deal, and man, he got so close. So I'm just so happy for him, for Travis, his dad, for Caden, his brother. It was a perfect story. A perfect day." And then, in a matter of seconds, it became something else entirely. In the chaos of the celebration, Carson Kvapil sent his JR Motorsports Chevrolet into a smoky burnout directly across the yard of bricks, the sacred strip of pavement at the start-finish line of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. NASCAR had radioed a reminder on the cool-down lap telling him not to do exactly that. The message never reached him. Carson Kvapil was already unplugged from his radio when it was sent. He had no idea the warning even existed until well after the damage was done. I looked at that about 20 minutes after the race, and I was like, probably wasn't good, said Carson Kvapil in the post-race press conference. I was unplugged, so I have no idea if they said anything or not. Yeah, I made a little bit of a mistake there. Probably there is an important wrinkle here that complicates the entire narrative. FOX sports reporter Bob Pockrass went back through the radio transmissions after the race, and what he found challenges the idea that Carson Kvapil ignored anything at all. Looking through the radio transmissions, I don't believe it was ever relayed to Carson Kvapil before he took off his earbuds, tweeted Bob Pockrass. In other words, the warning may never have had a chance to reach him in the first place. That detail matters, because it transforms the story from a driver defying instructions into a driver who was simply never told. Either way, the consequences arrived quickly. Just over an hour after celebrations wrapped, employees at Indianapolis Motor Speedway were out on the front stretch, working by hand and scrubbing away at the historic bricks to remove the black streak of rubber across them. Angela Morian of the Wish TV local news station captured the cleanup and reported all hands on deck to clean off the legendary yard of bricks after first-time champ Carson Kvapil burns out over them after winning the Pennzoil 250. So why does a strip of bricks matter this much? Because this is not just pavement. The yard of bricks is the last surviving strip of the original brick surface that gave Indianapolis Motor Speedway its nickname, the Brickyard. That strip has acted as the track's start-finish line since 1961, and the Speedway does everything it can to preserve it. Winners kneel down and kiss it. Teams pose for photographs on it. It is treated less like a racetrack marking and more like a shrine. So when a car's rear tire starts spinning and laying down black rubber streaks across that exact spot, purists do not see a celebration. They see something closer to sacrilege. And here's the part that puts Carson Kvapil's mistake in its proper context. He is far from the first driver to do this. In 2015, NASCAR legend Kyle Busch angered fans and the Speedway when he performed a burnout across the bricks following his win in Saturday's race, back when the series was known as the Xfinity Series. Indianapolis Motor Speedway officials reached out to him with their displeasure, and track president Doug Bowles said, "There's 3 feet of racetrack there that we ask don't do it on." Kyle Busch clearly got the message, because after winning the Brickyard 400 the very next day, he kept that celebration far away from the start-finish line. Before that, in 2012, 7-time Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson parked his car on the bricks and did a burnout while nosed up against the wall following his Brickyard 400 triumph. And in 2018, the offender was Justin Allgaier himself, Carson Kvapil's own JR Motorsports teammate, after winning this same race. When Justin Allgaier did it, Doug Bowles said it took too much effort to remove the burnout rubber from the bricks. This is not some reckless rookie invention. It is an emotional impulse that has tempted even the biggest stars in the sport. Still, for JR Motorsports, this was more than a footnote. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has built his ownership group around professionalism and respect for NASCAR's traditions, and having to publicly address a controversy on the biggest day of his young driver's career was not part of the plan. What stands out is how he handled it. He did not get defensive. He did not downplay it. He did not throw his driver under the bus. Within hours, he posted a clean, direct apology on social media, our apologies. The driver was unplugged from his radio when NASCAR sent the reminder. Lots going on when that all went down. Certainly regret any inconvenience. That response is a case study in smart crisis management. In an era where teams often get torched online for being slow or evasive after a controversy, JR Motorsports moved fast, told the truth, and offered a believable explanation. Carson Kvapil matched that accountability in his own press conference, owning the mistake without hiding behind excuses. The combination diffused a situation that could have burned for weeks. The fan reaction, meanwhile, split right down the middle. Traditionalists and hardcore Indianapolis Motor Speedway purists argue the bricks are untouchable and that no amount of emotion excuses rubber on that pavement. Some fans say the yard of bricks should be treated with respect, arguing that no celebration is worth damaging one of racing's most sacred landmarks. But a large portion of fans see it completely differently. Others believe a driver's first major NASCAR victory at Indianapolis is exactly the kind of moment that deserves an unforgettable celebration, and that the burnout only added to the emotion of the occasion. A driver who battled through 64 races and 5 heartbreaking second-place finishes. Finally winning and getting so overwhelmed that he forgot the rulebook, most fans are going to call that relatable, not reckless. And here's the twist that makes the whole controversy even stranger. The official social media account of Indianapolis Motor Speedway itself posted, "That's how you celebrate," in reference to Carson Kvapil's victory. The track sending mixed signals while its own crews scrubbed the bricks by hand only added fuel to the debate. There is also a bigger picture question NASCAR now has to confront. The warning system failed at the exact moment it was needed most. Drivers routinely disconnect from their radios during victory celebrations, which means they lose communication right when guidance matters. Expect NASCAR to reinforce this rule more aggressively in driver meetings going forward, possibly with tighter radio protocols during victory celebrations. So what happens next? In the best case, this blows over within a week. Carson Kvapil's win becomes remembered as the breakthrough moment of his career. The burnout becomes a funny footnote alongside the names of Kyle Busch, Jimmie Johnson, and Justin Allgaier, and NASCAR quietly tightens radio protocol without further incident. In the worst case, NASCAR decides to make an example out of this with a fine or a stronger public statement, turning a minor celebration mishap into a storyline that follows Carson Kvapil into his next races. What is not in question is the result. Post-race inspection was completed in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series garage, confirming Carson Kvapil as the winner. The victory vaulted him from 5th to 2nd place in the series standings, 265 points behind Justin Allgaier, and locked him into the chase with 2 regular season races remaining. 7 of the 12 chase positions are now filled, with Iowa Speedway on August 8 and Daytona standing between the field and the playoff opener at Darlington Raceway. Which leaves one final question. Was this an innocent emotional mistake from a driver who waited 5 years for his first win, or is it time for NASCAR to start enforcing real consequences at the Brickyard? Team Carson Kvapil or Team Protect the Bricks at all costs? The answer depends entirely on whether you see a rookie who disrespected history or a young man who simply could not contain the biggest moment of his life.